America's food scene is weirder than you think, so bizarre, in fact, that some of these dishes and traditions will make you question everything you thought you knew about eating. Picture this, a country where cheese comes in a spray can, where people deep fry butter and call it a snack, and where an entire town celebrates a festival devoted to roadkill. Sounds like something out of a surreal comedy sketch, right? But here's the kicker. This is all real, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. Welcome to the wild, wacky, and utterly unpredictable world of American food culture, where logic takes a backseat and creativity, or maybe just sheer audacity, rules the kitchen. You might consider yourself a foodie, or at least someone who knows their way around a menu, but trust me, what you're about to discover will flip your culinary compass upside down. We're not talking about your average fun facts here. These are the kind of stories that'll have you pausing mid-bite, staring at your plate and wondering, who on earth thought this was a good idea? From historical oddities that somehow stuck around to modern-day creations that defy all reason, America's food landscape is a treasure trove of the unexpected. And today, we're diving headfirst into 30 of the most insane, logic-defying food facts you've never heard of. Think you're ready, buckle up, because this isn't just a list. It's a journey through the deliciously strange, the gloriously excessive, and the downright inexplicable. Whether it's a sandwich so massive it could feed a small village or a dessert that involves setting things on fire on purpose, these facts aren't just quirky, they're a testament to a culture that never met a culinary boundary it didn't want to cross. So grab a snack, maybe something normal for now, and get ready to have your mind blown. By the end of this, you'll never look at American food the same way again. If you've ever ordered chicken, fried steak, and expected poultry, you're in for a shock, because this southern classic is actually beef through and through. Picture a tender cube steak coated in seasoned flour, dipped in egg, fried to a crispy golden brown, and smothered in creamy gravy. It looks like fried chicken, sounds like fried chicken, but one bite reveals the truth. This is pure, hearty beef at its most indulgent. The name isn't just a quirky misdirection, it's a literal cooking style. Texans in the 19th century took tough cuts of beef and gave them the same treatment as fried chicken, creating a dish so satisfying it blurred the lines between two comfort food worlds. This wasn't just culinary creativity, it was survival. Cattle drives and cowboy culture meant beef was plentiful, but cheaper cuts were often too tough to enjoy. Frying them like chicken transformed them into something tender and flavorful, especially when drenched in peppery white gravy. By the early 20th century, diners and home cooks across Texas claimed it as their own, turning it into a breakfast staple alongside eggs and biscuits. The dish spread across the South, but its heart remains in Texas, where it's practically a cultural institution. What's wild is how this accidental masterpiece became a symbol of resourcefulness. There's no fancy technique or rare ingredient, just a clever twist on what was available. Today, you'll find it on menus from roadside diners to high-end southern kitchens, often served with mashed potatoes or green beans. Some versions pile on the gravy, others keep it light and crispy, but no matter how it's dressed up, that first bite always delivers the same revelation: this isn't chicken. It's something better, a humble cut of beef, elevated to legendary status by a little ingenuity and a lot of hot oil. If you think peanut butter belongs strictly between two slices of bread with jelly, prepare to have your culinary world rocked, because in parts of the Midwest, they're slathering it on burgers. That's right, the Goober Burger, a juicy beef patty topped with melted cheese, crisp bacon, and a generous smear of creamy peanut butter, isn't just some novelty stunt. It's a beloved regional specialty, especially in states like Missouri and Minnesota, where diners have been serving this sweet and savory mashup for decades. At first glance, it sounds like something a kid might dream up, but one bite reveals the genius behind the combo. The salty richness of the beef and bacon plays off the nutty sweetness, creating a flavor that's bizarrely addictive. This isn't just some passing food trend, it's got history. The Goober Burger traces its roots back to the 1950s when creative cooks started experimenting with peanut butter as a cheap, protein-packed topping. It gained a cult following, popping up at roadside diners and state fairs where adventurous eaters couldn't resist giving it a try. Today, spots like the Wheel Inn in Missouri, now closed but legendary, were once pilgrimage sites for fans of the dish. And the love affair isn't just nostalgia. Newer restaurants have put their own spin on it, adding jalapenos for heat or drizzling honey for extra sweetness. What's wild is how polarizing this burger is. First-time tasters often approach it with skepticism, only to be shocked when the flavors click. One reviewer described it as like a gourmet version of a childhood sandwich, but with way more swagger. Others admit they can't decide if it's genius or madness, but they keep eating it anyway. Whether it's the contrast of textures or the way the peanut butter melts into the beef, something about this combo defies logic while somehow making perfect sense. So next time you're in the Midwest, skip the ketchup and give peanut butter a chance. It might just be the best bad decision you've ever made with a burger. Believe it or not, the ketchup you squeeze onto fries today was once bottled up as medicine. Back in the early 1800s, doctors and entrepreneurs marketed this tangy tomato sauce as a miracle cure for everything from upset stomachs to baldness. Yes, you heard that right, people were swallowing spoonfuls of ketchup not for flavor, but in hopes it would cure their ailments. The original recipe looked nothing like today's version. Early ketchup was a thin, fermented sauce made from mushrooms, walnuts, or even oysters, packed with vinegar and spices. But when tomatoes entered the mix, their supposed health benefits sparked a full-blown ketchup craze. Advertisements from the time read like something out of a snake oil salesman's playbook. One 1835 poster claimed ketchup could settle the most rebellious stomach and even restore vitality to the weary. Another touted it as a digestion aid so powerful it could make heavy meats slide through the system like butter. These wild claims weren't entirely random. Tomatoes were thought to have purifying properties, and the vinegar in ketchup was a common folk remedy. Never mind that many early versions contained questionable additives like coal tar for color. Optimism and clever marketing won the day. What's truly bizarre is how this so-called medicine evolved. By the late 19th century, companies like Heinz pivoted from health claims to taste, adding sugar for mass appeal and stabilizing the recipe to prevent spoilage. The shift worked too well today. Ketchup is so far removed from its medicinal roots that the idea of chugging it for health seems laughable. Yet those early ads left their mark. Next time you reach for the bottle, remember, you're holding a relic of one of history's most delicious delusions. You haven't truly lived until you've watched someone bite into a stick of deep-fried butter at a state fair, because yes, that's a real food, not some fever dream concoction. Imagine taking an entire pat of butter, freezing it solid, dipping it in sweet pancake batter, then dropping it into a vat of bubbling oil until golden. The result, a crispy outer shell that cracks open to reveal molten butter oozing out like some kind of forbidden dairy lava. It's the kind of dish that makes cardiologists wince and daredevil eaters cheer, usually served on a stick for maximum portability, and maybe as a small mercy so you don't have to use both hands to cradle this greasy masterpiece. This isn't just reckless indulgence, it's a calculated spectacle. The Iowa State Fair, where the dish gained fame, treats it like competitive sport vendors vie for the most outrageous versions, from cinnamon sugar dusted to honey drizzled. First-timers often approach with a mix of curiosity and horror, only to be shocked by how bizarrely addictive that hot buttery burst can be. One reviewer described it as like biting into a fresh pastry if the pastry was filled with pure liquid sin. Others admit they can only handle a few bites before the richness hits like a tidal wave. leaving them equal parts satisfied and slightly ashamed. What's wild is how this dish summarizes America's state fair ethos. Take something ordinary, batter it, fry it, and push it to absurd new heights. The butter melts slightly during frying but stays mostly intact thanks to the icy start, creating that signature gooey center. Some stands even inject flavors, garlic butter for savory fans or caramel infused for those with a sweet tooth. It's not food, it's edible performance art designed to make you gasp, laugh, and maybe question your life choices as you lick butter off your fingers under the neon glow of carnival lights. Critics call it a heart attack on a stick, and they're not wrong, but that's missing the point. Deep-fried butter isn't meant to be everyday fare. It's a once-a-year rebellion against nutritional common sense. And honestly, after that first crunchy, molten bite, you'll understand why lines form around the block for this glorious, grotesque testament to American excess. Just maybe don't tell your doctor. Picture a shimmering emerald green Jell-O mold, wobbly and proud on a mid-century dinner table, only to slice into it and discover chunks of tuna, celery, and peas suspended inside. This wasn't a kitchen mishap, it was peak culinary fashion. In the 1950s and 60s, savory Jell-O salads weren't just a trend. They were a full-blown obsession, turning gelatin into a blank canvas for everything from shredded carrots to canned seafood. Why blame it on a perfect storm of innovation and aspiration? With the rise of refrigerators and powdered gelatin, homemakers could finally showcase their modern cooking skills by encasing entire meals in a jiggly, jewel-toned embrace. These weren't your grandma's desserts. Recipes from the era read like mad science experiments. Lime Jell-O layered with cottage cheese and pineapple, tomato aspic with chopped olives, or lemon gelatin studded with diced ham and hard-boiled eggs. The more unexpected the combo, the better. Magazines like Better Homes and Gardens treated these creations as high art, featuring glossy spreads of towering gelatin molds adorned with mayonnaise, frosting, or avocado halves. Church potlucks and bridge parties became battlegrounds for the most audacious designs, where a well-executed shrimp and celery ring could earn neighborhood bragging rights. What's truly baffling is how these salads symbolized sophistication at the time. Gelatin was once a luxury item, requiring hours of labor to extract from animal bones. By the mid-20th century, companies like Jell-O had democratized it, but the aura of elegance lingered. A molded salad implied the hostess had time to fuss, stirring, chilling, unmolding with precision. Never mind that the flavors clashed, presentation trumped taste. Some even argued the bland gelatin enhanced the ingredients, though taste testers today might disagree. The trend's downfall was as dramatic as its rise. By the 70s, convenience foods lost their luster, and younger generations recoiled at the thought of mayo suspended in raspberry Jell-O. Yet relics persist. In the Midwest and Mormon communities, versions like green Jell-O with carrots still grace holiday tables. For the rest of us, these retro recipes live on as eerie time capsules, proof that America's culinary past was far stranger than we remember. Next time you dismiss a food trend, ask yourself, would you dare to take a bite of tuna suspended in lime gelatin? History did. At the height of New York City's cereal obsession, one restaurant took breakfast nostalgia to jaw-dropping extremes: Kellogg's Cereal Cafe, where every single item on the menu involved cereal in some form. This wasn't just a place to grab a quick bowl of Fruit Loops. It was a full-blown temple to sugary grains, featuring creations like Fruit Loops coated fried chicken, Frosted Flakes crusted French toast, and milkshakes blended with entire handfuls of Lucky Charms. The signature dish, a towering cereal flight that let customers sample 5 different cereals with an array of milk options, from classic 2% to trendy almond milk. For anyone who grew up sneaking extra marshmallows from the box, this was disnil and meets breakfast time. The concept seemed bulletproof, capitalize on millennial nostalgia while giving cereal the gourmet treatment. Customers lined up around the block to snap Instagram pics of their Technicolor meals, and the cafe even offered exclusive cereals you couldn't find anywhere else. But beneath the Instagrammable surface, trouble was simmering. Critics slammed the sky-high prices $8 for a basic bowl of cereal with milk as downright predatory in a city where bodegas sold the same thing for a fraction of the cost. Nutritionists raised eyebrows at dishes like the cereal sushi, which wrapped Rice Krispies treats in fruit roll-ups and dusted them with Pop-Tart crumbs. And then there was the irony. While Kellogg's marketed itself as a wholesome family brand, this cafe was essentially selling dessert as every meal. The backlash reached a fever pitch when local news outlets dubbed it the most tone-deaf restaurant in New York, highlighting its location in a neighborhood where food insecurity was a real issue. Within a year, the cereal cafe closed its doors, but not before sparking a bizarre cultural debate. Was this a harmless celebration of childhood joy or a symbol of corporate excess gone mad? Either way, its brief, glittery existence proved one thing: America's love affair with cereal runs deep, but maybe not deep enough to justify cereal-crusted onion rings. Down in the heart of the American South, where summer heat clings like a wool blanket, locals have perfected a refreshment so unexpected it stops first-timers in their tracks. No cones soaked in pickle juice. That's right, the same tangy brine that normally gets tossed after the pickles are gone gets a second life here, transformed into a shockingly addictive syrup drizzled over shaved ice. The result, a neon green mound of salty sweet frost that somehow hits the spot when temperatures soar. Vendors swear by the science behind it. The vinegar and electrolytes help combat dehydration, while the sugar gives a quick energy boost. But let's be real, the real magic is in that first audacious slurp, where the punch of dill and garlic collides with icy sweetness in a way that shouldn't work and yet absolutely does. This isn't some ironic hipster trend either. Pickle juice snow cones have deep roots in states like Texas and Louisiana, where they're a staple at baseball games, county fairs, and backyard barbecues. Die-hard fans describe them with near-religious reverence. One Houston-based vendor claims customers line up 2 hours before he even opens, clutching their own jars of homemade brine for a custom pour. It's like the Gatorade of the gods. Laughs are regular at Baton Rouge's annual Pickle Festival, where the syrup flows by the gallon. Kids go for the classic green, while purists insist on artisanal varieties: spicy ghost pepper brine for heat seekers, or bread and butter pickle syrup for those who prefer a sweeter twist. What's wild is how polarizing this treat is. Outsiders grimace at the idea, while locals argue it's no weirder than putting salt on watermelon or chili powder on mango. The texture plays a role too. The brine seeps into the ice, creating pockets of intense flavor that shift with every bite. One Mississippi shop owner admits even skeptics cave after a taste. They come in laughing but leave with 2 more for the road. Behind the novelty lies some clever practicality. Pickle juice has long been a folk remedy for muscle cramps. Pro athletes swig it during games, so why not make it delicious? The trends even spawned offshoots like pickle juice popsicles and slushies, but the snow cone remains king. Its brilliance is in its simplicity: just ice, brine, and a willingness to throw culinary caution to the wind. So next time you're sweating through a southern summer, skip the lemonade and join the pickle brigade. Your taste buds might rebel at first, but your body will thank you. Somewhere between a donut and a modern art installation lies the 100-layer donut, a pastry so over the top, it redefines the word indulgence. Picture this: a towering spiral of crisp golden dough, each paper-thin layer meticulously stacked and fried until it shatters like glass, then glazed in glossy ribbons of vanilla or chocolate. It's not just a dessert, it's an architectural feat requiring hours of labor to roll, fold, and proof the dough in a process closer to crafting croissants than your average dunkable donut. The result, a treat that collapses into delicate, buttery shards with every bite, sending sugar crystals cascading onto the plate like edible confetti. This isn't just bakery excess, it's precision engineering. A single misstep in layering can cause the dough to bake unevenly, leaving raw pockets or worse, a lopsided mess. Skilled bakers work in chilled kitchens to keep the butter from melting, laminating each sheet with the care of a watchmaker assembling a timepiece. One Brooklyn bakery famously documented the process on Instagram, showing the 12-hour marathon of rolling, resting, and repeating, a video that went viral overnight. Commenters flooded with disbelief. Who has the patience for this? And I'd eat it in 12 seconds. What's wild is how this decadent creation became a social media lightning rod. Food influencers staged dramatic pull-apart videos, revealing the intricate layers like a culinary onion, while others dared to drizzle them with caramel or pile on fresh fruit until the structure groaned under the weight. The 100-layer donut didn't just go viral, it sparked a bizarre arms race with bakeries worldwide attempting their own versions, some adding matcha dust, others stuffing layers with custard or Nutella. But here's the twist, despite its Instagram fame, this donut is nearly impossible to eat gracefully. Diners report needing forks, knives, and napkins by the dozen as layers crumble into a delicious, messy heap. Maybe that's the point, a reminder that some foods aren't meant to be practical, just unforgettable. Whether it's art or absurdity, one thing's certain, after the 100th layer, you'll never look at a plain glazed the same way again. Forget cheese slices or artisanal wedges. America decided the future of dairy was a whipped neon orange foam that shoots straight out of a can. Easy Cheese, the sprayable cheese product that clings to crackers like edible silly string, might seem like a modern joke, but its origins are shockingly highbrow. This bizarre pantry staple traces its roots to the space race, when NASA needed a way to feed astronauts zero-gravity grilled cheese without crumbs floating into delicate equipment. The solution, dehydrated cheese in an aerosol can, rehydrated mid-air with a press of the nozzle. By the time it hit grocery shelves in the 1970s, marketers ditched the sci-fi pragmatism and went all in on fun, pitching it as the ultimate party snack for kids who wanted to draw with their food. What's wild is how this space-age shortcut became a cultural icon. Purists scoff at its ingredient list: oils, whey protein, and enough preservatives to survive a nuclear winter, but fans treat it with reverence. College dorm room stockpile cans for late night, cheese straight to the face challenges. Tailgaters use it to write team slogans on tortilla chips. There's even a fringe group that insists spraying it onto hot pizza creates the perfect melty bite. Do not try this at home. The texture alone defies logic, part mousse, part glue, with a salty tang that lingers like a nostalgic afterthought. Yet for all its artificiality, Easy Cheese has moments of accidental genius. Campers swear by its non-perishable convenience. Bartenders crown it the ultimate drunk snack, no utensils required. And let's not forget the asthma appeal of that hissing aerosol sound, a Pavlovian dinner bell for anyone raised on 90s lunchboxes. The internet amplifies the absurdity with viral videos of people constructing entire cheese castles on Ritz crackers or, yes, spraying it directly into their mouths like some dairy-themed dare. The real magic lies in its contradictions. This is a product that's undeniably ridiculous, yet impossible to resist. Maybe it's the childlike thrill of playing with your food, or maybe it's the quiet rebellion against cheese snobbery. Either way, Easy Cheese endures as a monument to American innovation. Where else could a NASA spin-off become the life of the party? Just don't ask what's actually in it. The turducken isn't just a dish. It's a culinary Russian nesting doll that defies both logic and basic poultry anatomy. Imagine this, a boneless chicken crammed inside a boneless duck, which is then stuffed into a partially deboned turkey with layers of seasoned stuffing separating each bird like edible insulation. This Frankenstein feast originated in Louisiana's Cajun country, where no ingredient is safe from being fried, stuffed, or in this case shoved inside another ingredient. The name literally smooshes turkey, duck, and chicken together because subtlety was never the point. Cooking a turducken isn't dinner, it's an endurance sport. First, there's the boning process, a skilled butcher's nightmare that leaves the birds intact but flexible enough to play culinary origami. Then comes the stuffing. Traditional Cajun versions use spicy andouille sausage and cornbread, layered between each bird like savory mortar. Once assembled, the whole monstrosity gets trussed up tighter than a Mardi Gras float, because if those layers shift during roasting, you'll end up with a lopsided mess where duck juice pools in one corner. The real challenge, cooking it evenly. The turkey needs hours to reach a safe temperature, but the smaller duck and chicken inside risk drying out to jerky if left too long. Master turducken chefs swear by low and slow, basting constantly and sometimes even wrapping the beast in bacon for extra moisture insurance. What's wild is how this dish became a Thanksgiving flex. Cajun butcher Paul Prudhomme popularized it in the 1980s, but its roots go deeper. Some trace it to medieval Europe's engastration dishes, where nobles showed off wealth by stuffing animals inside each other. Today, it's the ultimate centerpiece for hosts who want to stun guests. Online forums teem with first-timers documenting their turducken trials like war stories. The duck leaked into the chicken layer, or I needed a hacksaw to carve it. Yet devotees claim the payoff, a single slice revealing all three birds and their distinct flavors, juices mingling into a meaty symphony, is worth the gamble. The turducken's brilliance lies in its absurdity. It takes three ordinary birds and transforms them into something mythical, a dish that sparks equal parts admiration and terror. Sure, you could roast a normal turkey, but where's the glory in that? This is America. If we're going to feast, we might as well turn it into an edible circus act. Just make sure you've got a chainsaw or carving knife handy when it's showtime. Just when you thought pizza couldn't get any wilder, along comes root beer float pizza, a dessert monstrosity that swaps tomato sauce for sugary root beer gel and replaces mozzarella with scoops of melting vanilla ice cream. This isn't some fever dream mashup from a late-night snack attack. It's a real menu item at pizzerias like Minneapolis's Galactic Pizza, where the owners swear it's a stroke of genius. Think of it as a deconstructed soda fountain classic, says one unapologetic chef, describing how they pour house-made root beer reduction over a buttery crust, then artfully dollop ice cream on top so it melts into creamy rivulets. The result, a hot and cold, sweet and slightly bitter slice that's equal parts confusing and irresistible. Critics might call it sacrilege, but the creators defend it with near-evangelical zeal. People scrunch their noses until they take that first bite. Laughs a shop owner in Ohio, where a competing version uses frosty soft serve instead of traditional scoops. Then it clicks, the fizzy tang of the root beer cuts through the richness just like in the drink. The texture game is strong here. Warm, chewy crust meets cold, velvety ice cream, while the gel forms sticky pockets that mimic root beer's carbonated bite. Some shops even sprinkle crushed root beer barrel candies on top for extra crunch, leaning all the way into the nostalgia. What's fascinating is how polarizing this pizza is. Online food forums erupt into civil wars over its existence. This is why aliens won't talk to us, jokes one Reddit user, while die-hard fans stage float-offs to compare regional variations. A Chicago spot layers the gel under the ice cream to prevent sogginess, while a Texas joint spikes theirs with bourbon for grown-up flair. Even the plating sparks debate, served in neat triangles like traditional pizza, or smashed into a bowl and eaten with a spoon like a melted sundae. The secret might be in the audacity. Root beer float pizza doesn't just cross culinary boundaries, it obliterates them, turning a childhood treat into a shareable, sliceable spectacle. Sure, it'll never replace pepperoni in the Pizza Hall of Fame, but as a once-in-a-while curveball, it's a reminder that America's food scene thrives on playful rebellion. And honestly, after that first messy, euphoric bite, you'll either be a convert or desperately reaching for a napkin. In the culinary rulebook, salad typically implies something fresh, crisp, and ideally vegetable-forward. But the Midwest begged to differ with Watergate salad, a dish that tosses the definition out the window. Picture a neon green mound of pistachio pudding, mini marshmallows, crushed pineapple, and chopped pecans, all bound together by a staggering amount of whipped topping and wait for it mayonnaise. That's right, this so-called salad is essentially a dessert masquerading as a side dish, and it's been a potluck superstar since the 1970s. The name itself is a mystery. Some swear it's tied to the political scandal, while others claim it was invented by a Wisconsin home cook who just really loved pistachios. Either way, one bite of this sweet, creamy, slightly unsettling concoction, and you'll understand why it's both beloved and baffling. What's wild is how this fits into a broader tradition of Midwestern salads that bears zero resemblance to anything grown in a garden. Take the Snickers salad, where chunks of candy bars mingle with Cool Whip and Granny Smith apples, or the gloriously unhinged ambrosia, a citrus and coconut mess studded with maraschino cherries and, you guessed it, more mayo. These dishes thrive on contrast, the crunch of nuts against fluffy marshmallows, the tang of pineapple cutting through the pudding's sweetness. They're less about health and more about texture fireworks, designed to shock and delight at church luncheons and family reunions. The real genius of Watergate salad lies in its adaptability. Some versions swap pistachio for vanilla pudding and add coconut. Others sneak in crushed vanilla wafers for extra heft. Purists insist the mayo is non-negotiable. It adds a rich depth, they claim, though skeptics argue it's just there to mess with people. And let's not overlook the presentation. Often served in a glass trifle dish to show off its layers, this salad demands attention. You don't just scoop it, laughs a Minnesota native. You admire it, question it, then eat 3 helpings. What these salads reveal is a regional love affair with indulgence and irony. They're a middle finger to culinary pretension, a celebration of convenience foods turned celebratory. Critics might scoff, but after one forkful of that pistachio cloud madness, even the staunchest vegetable advocate might cave. After all, in a world where Jell-O molds once held tuna, is a marshmallow mayo hybrid really so strange? The Midwest says no, and honestly, they're having way more fun at potlucks than the rest of us. Deep-fried Coke sounds like a prank until you see the steaming, golden brown fritters drizzled in syrup at the Texas State Fair. This isn't soda poured into a fryer, it's a mad scientist's dessert dream. Vendors start with a batter infused with Coca-Cola syrup, then fold in carbonated soda for a fizzy kick. Dropped into hot oil, the batter puffs into crispy orbs that somehow trap the cola's caramel essence. The final touch, a zigzag of Coke syrup over the top, creating a sticky sweet shell that cracks open to reveal a warm, cakey center. One bite and the flavors hit like a carbonated nostalgia bomb. Equal parts carnival fairytale and sugary science experiment. The dish was born in 2006 when fair vendor Abel Gonzalez Jr. decided to outdo his own deep-fried peanut butter sandwich. "I wanted something that tasted like childhood," he admitted, and the crowds agreed. Lines stretched for hours as people clamored to try what sounded like a dare but ate like a cult favorite. Critics scoffed, "You can't fry a liquid," until they saw the batter's chemistry at work. The carbonation creates tiny air pockets, making the fritters light as tempura, while the syrup caramelizes into a glaze that clings to every crevice. Fairgoers describe the texture as part donut, part funnel cake with a cola afterburn. What's wild is how this became a cultural litmus test. Locals defend it as a once-a-year indulgence, while outsiders gawk at the audacity. Nutritionists cringe. Each serving packs a stomach-turning 40 grams of sugar. but even they can't resist snapping photos. The fair leans into the spectacle, with stands decorated like vintage soda shops and servers in retro aprons. Some vendors riff on the original, adding whipped cream or cherry garnishes, but purists insist the magic's in the simplicity, just batter, oil, and syrup in unholy harmony. Behind the gimmick lies a slice of Americana. State fairs have long been laboratories for deep-fried absurdity. Oreos, butter, even Kool-Aid, but Coca-Cola's global recognition made this one iconic. It's not just food, it's edible performance art, a reminder that joy sometimes comes battered, bubbly, and gloriously excessive. So next time someone scoffs at deep-fried Coke, ask if they've tasted it. The proof isn't in the logic, it's in that first fizzy, crunchy, syrup-drenched bite. At La Casa de los Burritos in Arizona, they don't just serve meals, they issue edible ultimatums. Their infamous El Gigante burrito isn't just big. It's a 26-pound behemoth, roughly the size of a 3-year-old child, stuffed with enough rice, beans, carne asada, and cheese to feed a family of 6. Wrapped in a custom-made tortilla that requires 2 people to flip, this monstrosity isn't just a dish. It's a gauntlet thrown down at competitive eaters. Finish it in under an hour and it's free. Fail, and you're stuck with a $200 bill and a lifetime of regret. Professional eaters describe confronting El Gigante like facing a food tsunami. The first 5 pounds easy, says competitive eater Randy Santel, who conquered it in 48 minutes. Then the tortilla starts expanding in your stomach like a waterlogged sponge. The real challenge isn't just volume, it's monotony. Imagine shoveling forkful after forkful of the same flavors while the clock ticks and spectators cheer or gag. Some strategists layer bites with sour cream or salsa to cut through the starch, while others pace themselves like marathoners, saving the protein-heavy meat for last when carbs fatigue sets in. What's wild is how this burrito exposes the psychology of food challenges. Casual diners tap out around pound 8, defeated by what veterans call the wall, a sudden, overwhelming fullness that makes every bite agony. But pros like Furious Pete have tricks. I visualize it as 10 small burritos, not one giant one, he says, describing how mental compartmentalization keeps panic at bay. Then there's the aftermath. Even winners often spend hours immobile, groaning as their bodies process what amounts to a week's worth of calories in a single sitting. The restaurant leans into the spectacle. El Gigante arrives on a pizza tray, accompanied by a waiver and a warning that no to-go boxes will be offered, a rule enforced after one customer tried to smuggle leftovers out in a trash bag. Staff recount horror stories of challengers sprinting to the bathroom mid-meal or crying into their guacamole. Yet for every 10 failures, there's that one triumphant soul, burrito wrapper empty, arms raised in victory, immortalized on the wall of fame. This isn't just gluttony, it's performance art. The burrito's sheer absurdity draws crowds, from curious tourists to YouTube daredevils filming their attempts. And while nutritionists weep into their kale salads, there's something undeniably captivating about watching human ambition collide with culinary madness. Whether it's a stunt or a test of will, one thing's certain: nobody forgets their first encounter with El Gigante, especially not their stomach. Pepsi once looked at those pastel marshmallow chicks lining Easter shelves and thought, what if you could drink them? The result was Peeps-flavored Pepsi, a limited edition soda that turned America's favorite sugar-dusted candy into a carbonated enigma. Launched in 2021 as a tie-in with Just Born, the makers of Peeps, this pastel pink concoction promised to capture the essence of the iconic marshmallow treat, meaning it had to nail that peculiar combo of vanilla, sugar, and a whisper of gelatinous chewiness in liquid form. Early tasters described it as like someone dissolved a handful of Peeps in your soda, with a floral undertone that either charmed or horrified, depending on who you asked. The backlash was instant and visceral. Social media erupted with taste test videos featuring reactions ranging from bewildered shrugs to full-body shudders. One YouTuber dramatically spit it into a bucket, gasping, "It's like carbonated frosting with identity issues." Others noted the unsettling contrast between the soda's candy-sweet aroma and its faintly medicinal aftertaste, a hallmark of marshmallow flavoring that works in solid form but feels alarmingly antiseptic when sipped. Even Peeps loyalists were divided. "It tastes like Easter morning in a can," argued one fan while another lamented. This is what happens when brands forget the word no exists. What makes this experiment fascinating isn't just its absurdity, but the psychology behind it. Limited edition flavors thrive on novelty, banking on the fear of missing out rather than actual culinary merit. Pepsi leaned hard into the gimmick, packaging the soda in pastel cans adorned with Peeps bunnies and marketing it as a fun, shareable experience. The subtext: nobody buys this expecting a new staple. They buy it to Instagram, to debate at parties, to add to the shelf of weird food fails next to their bottle of Crystal Pepsi. And that's the secret sauce. Peeps-flavored Pepsi wasn't meant to replace classic cola. It was a calculated stroke of madness designed to trend. In that sense, it succeeded spectacularly. Even the haters couldn't resist talking about it, ensuring the brand dominated headlines during Easter season. Whether sipped as a dare or poured down the drain in protest, this soda proved one thing: in America, even the weirdest flavor flops can become cultural moments. Just don't ask for a second can. In the heart of Pittsburgh, where steel mills once roared and blue-collar workers needed meals hearty enough to fuel 12-hour shifts, one sandwich dared to break all the rules. The Primanti Bros' masterpiece doesn't just come with fries, it stuffs them right inside the bread, along with a heap of tangy vinegar-based coleslaw, all piled atop your choice of meat and crowned with melted provolone. This isn't a sandwich, it's a full diner plate crammed between two slices of Italian bread, a feat of engineering as bold as the city's skyline. Legend has it the creation was born in the 1930s, when truckers and steelworkers needed food they could eat one-handed while keeping the other on the wheel or a wrench. No time for side dishes, no problem, just slap them right on the sandwich and let the juices mingle. The magic lies in the chaos. Take a bite, and the crisp fries crunch against the soft bread, while the slaw's acidity cuts through the richness of the meat, usually capicola or pastrami, though later iterations added everything from egg to fried fish. The cheese acts as a glue, holding this edible Jenga tower together just long enough to reach your mouth. Locals swear by the texture symphony. You get the chew of the bread, the snap of the slaw, the starch of the fries, all in one messy, glorious package, says a third-generation steelworker. What sounds like a drunken dare is, in fact, a carefully calibrated balance of flavors and practicality. Primanti's didn't just survive, it thrived, expanding from a single Depression-era cart to an empire with outposts as far as Florida. But true believers insist the original Strip District location is the only place to taste the sandwich in its purest form, where the griddle's grease stains tell stories of late-night shifts and victorious Steelers fans. The walls are plastered with photos of celebrities clutching the monstrous creation, their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. Even Anthony Bourdain, no stranger to bold foods, called it a revelation after his first bite. What's fascinating is how this sandwich became a cultural touchstone. Pittsburghers don't just eat it, they defend it like a family heirloom. Rival cities have tried copying the formula, but without the city's grit and history, the imitation falls flat. "You can't factory produce soul," laughs one lifelong customer. The sandwich isn't just food, it's a middle finger to convention, a reminder that greatness often comes from breaking rules. And in a world of dainty avocado toast, there's something rebellious about a meal that dares you to unhinge your jaw. So next time you're in Pittsburgh, skip the fork, embrace the mess, the history, and the sheer audacity of a sandwich that refuses to be just a sandwich. If you think your local diner serves up hearty meals, wait until you see Rochester's legendary garbage plate, a dish so shamelessly over the top it makes a double cheeseburger look like diet food. Picture this, a mountain of crispy home fries and creamy macaroni salad, topped with not one but two beef patties or hot dogs, then smothered in a spicy meat hot sauce, raw onions, mustard, and ketchup. All of this comes piled on a single plate with zero regard for portion control or food separation. It's chaos on a dish, a glorious, greasy free-for-all that locals swear by and outsiders either fear or devour with reckless abandon. This isn't just drunk food, it's a cultural institution. The garbage plate was born in the 1920s at Nick Tahu Hots, a Rochester staple that catered to factory workers craving cheap, filling meals after long shifts. The original name was Hots and Potatoes, but as the dish grew in popularity, students from nearby University of Rochester dubbed it the garbage plate for its haphazard, thrown-together appearance. The name stuck, and soon competing diners started offering their own versions, turning this blue-collar feast into a regional obsession. What's fascinating is how the dish walks the line between genius and grotesque. On one hand, it's a masterclass in contrasts, the starchy softness of the mac salad against the crunch of the fries, the heat of the meat sauce cutting through the richness of the burgers. Devotees argue it's the perfect hangover cure or late-night indulgence, a symphony of flavors that somehow works despite the madness. On the other hand, critics liken it to someone raiding a fridge and dumping leftovers onto a plate. Even Anthony Bourdain, who rarely met a dish he wouldn't try, admitted it was terrifying before conceding it was also strangely delicious. The garbage plate thrives on its rebellious spirit. There's no right way to build one. Some spots swap out the mac salad for baked beans or coleslaw, while others add fried eggs or even chicken tenders for extra heft. The only rule, it has to be messy. Eating one is a balancing act, a desperate scramble to get a little bit of everything in each bite before the whole tower collapses. And that's part of the charm. This isn't fine dining, it's culinary anarchy, a middle finger to portion sizes and food group segregation. But beneath the chaos lies surprising ingenuity. The dish was born out of necessity, a way to stretch cheap ingredients into something satisfying. The hot sauce, often made with ground beef and a blend of spices, is the secret weapon. It ties the whole mess together with its tangy, savory punch. And while it might look like a heart attack on a plate, there's something undeniably comforting about the way each component plays off the next. Even skeptics often find themselves won over after a few hesitant bites, reluctantly admitting, "Okay, I get it now." Whether you see it as a masterpiece or monstrosity, the garbage plate is pure Rochester, unapologetic, hearty, and a little rough around the edges. It's not trying to impress anyone, and maybe that's why it's endured for nearly a century. After all, in a world of avocado toast and artisanal small plates, there's something refreshing about a dish that proudly declares, more is more. Just don't blame us if you need a nap or a cardiologist afterwards. Somewhere between dessert and outright decadence lies the $1,000 ice cream sundae, a creation so luxurious, it makes regular sundaes look like sad scoops from the school cafeteria. At New York's Serendipity 3, their infamous golden opulent sundae isn't just a sweet treat, it's a status symbol served in a baccarat crystal goblet with an 18-karat gold spoon. The ingredients read like a royalty's grocery list: rare Tahitian vanilla ice cream infused with Madagascan vanilla pods, chunks of Parisian chocolate-covered truffles, edible 23-karat gold flakes that shimmer like tiny sunbeams, and a drizzle of vintage Armagnac from the 1960s. Oh, and let's not forget the candied fruit from Paris or the gold-dusted whipped cream, because apparently regular whipped cream just wouldn't cut it for this level of extravagance. What's wild isn't just the price tag, it's the sheer theatricality of it all. The sundae arrives with a security escort, no joke, because even the bowl alone could fund a small vacation. Diners don't just eat it, they Instagram it like it's a rare artifact, capturing the way the gold flakes catch the light before they melt into the ice cream. The whole experience takes 48 hours to prepare, since the ingredients are sourced from around the world and assembled with the precision of a jewelry heist. Even the maraschino cherry on top, it's a rare variety from France, soaked in premium cognac because of course it is. Critics call it the ultimate flex for people with more money than sense, and they're not wrong. The golden opulence holds the Guinness World Record for most expensive dessert, but it's not the only wallet-crushing contender. In Dubai, there's a sundae topped with real diamonds, served with instructions not to, accidentally swallow them. And in Tokyo, one restaurant offers a parfait wrapped in gold leaf so delicate, it dissolves on your tongue like edible silk. But Serendipity's version leans into the absurdity, marketing itself as the sundae you buy once in a lifetime if you win the lottery. Here's the thing, though, beneath the gimmick, there's something undeniably fascinating about the psychology behind it. Nobody orders this sundae because they're craving ice cream. They order it for the story, the spectacle, the bragging rights. It's less about dessert and more about the sheer audacity of turning something as simple as ice cream into a high-art performance piece. The restaurant even keeps a ledger of every person who's ever bought one, turning customers into minor celebrities for a night. So is it worth the price? Depends who you ask. Food critics shrug and say the vanilla isn't even the best they've tasted, but that's missing the point. This sundae isn't here to satisfy hunger. It's here to make you feel like a decadent Roman emperor, if only for 15 gloriously ridiculous minutes. Just don't forget to tip your server. You're paying $1,000 for sugar and gold. What's another $20? Just when you thought carbs couldn't get any more excessive, enter the spaghetti donut, a Franken dessert that shatters the boundary between sweet and savory in the most unsettling way possible. Picture a fluffy, golden donut glazed to perfection, only to split it open and reveal a tangle of al dente spaghetti nestled inside, perhaps even drenched in marinara sauce or sprinkled with parmesan. This isn't a dare or a TikTok stunt gone wrong, it's a real menu item at spots like the Donut Bar in San Diego, where chefs defend it as boundary-pushing comfort food. One bite and your brain short-circuits. The sugary dough clashes with the earthy pasta, creating a flavor whiplash that's either blasphemy or brilliance, depending on who you ask. The origins of this carb-on-carb monstrosity trace back to experimental pop-up kitchens, where chefs toyed with the idea of stuffing the unexpected. Spaghetti, with its neutral starchiness, became an unlikely candidate for filling, its texture oddly compatible with the pillowy donut interior. Some versions lean into the Italian theme, adding mozzarella for a pull-apart effect, while others go full fusion with kimchi spaghetti or mac and cheese fillings. It's about challenging expectations, insists one pastry chef who compares the dish to a savory eclair but with noodles instead of cream. Critics, however, aren't sold. This is what happens when chefs stop fearing God, joked a food blogger after their first bite, describing the experience as like eating breakfast and dinner simultaneously against your will. What's fascinating is how polarizing this creation has become. Die-hard fans argue it's the ultimate stoner food, a mashup that satisfies two cravings at once. Detractors recoil at the mouthfeel chewy pasta against airy dough, calling it textural treason. Social media amplifies the divide, with videos of spaghetti donuts going viral for all the wrong reasons. One clip shows a hesitant influencer taking a bite, then staring into the camera in silent despair. Another features a chef defending the dish with the intensity of a philosopher. Is it weird? Yes, but so was sushi in America once. Behind the gimmick lies a deeper culinary dare. The spaghetti donut isn't just about shock value, it's a test of how far comfort food can bend before it breaks. Some bakeries have refined the recipe, pre-tossing the pasta in garlic butter or using a bechamel base to bridge the sweet-savory gap. others lean into the absurdity, offering supersized versions with meatballs perched on top like grotesque sprinkles. Whether it's a fleeting trend or the next cronut remains to be seen, but one thing's certain: after this, no one will ever look at a donut or a plate of spaghetti the same way again. When you think burger buns, fluffy brioche or sesame seed might come to mind, but in the world of extreme eats, there's only one king: the Luther burger, a monstrosity that swaps traditional bread for two glazed donuts hugging a beef patty. This isn't just a sweet and savory experiment. It's a full-blown culinary rebellion, dripping with melted cheese, crispy bacon, and often a slick of mayo or barbecue sauce. The first bite is a sensory overload: sugary glaze caramelizing against salty beef, the donut's pillowy softness collapsing under the weight of all that greasy goodness. It sounds like a stunt, but this burger has a cult following that treats it like gospel. Legend credits its invention to an accident involving none other than Luther Vandross. Rumor has it the soul singer was craving a burger late one night, but only had donuts on hand. Cue an improvisation that birthed a legend. Whether that's true or just a delicious myth, the Luther burger exploded in popularity at greasy spoons and state fairs, where vendors leaned into the absurdity. One Georgia diner even slaps a diabetes warning on the menu, half joking that eating one is like mainlining sugar and fat directly to your soul. The magic or madness lies in the contrast. The donut's sweetness doesn't just complement the savory elements, it amplifies them, turning each bite into a roller coaster of flavors. Purists insist on Krispy Kreme originals for their melt-in-your-mouth quality, while rebels add peanut butter or fried eggs for extra chaos. But the real spectacle is watching first-timers wrestle with the idea. It's like eating breakfast and dinner simultaneously, laughs a cook from South Carolina, where the burgers become a dare for tourists. Some folks take one look and nope out, others inhale it and immediately order a second. Critics call it a heart attack on a plate, and nutritionists visibly shudder at the calorie count. Some versions clock in at over 500 calories, but the Luther burger's charm is its unapologetic excess. It's the edible equivalent of a fireworks finale, excessive, unforgettable, and best enjoyed sparingly. Whether it's a stroke of genius or a cry for help depends on who you ask, but one thing's certain. In a world of avocado toast and quinoa bowls, this burger screams rebellion with every glazed dripping bite. Americans don't just like ranch dressing, they wield it like a culinary cudgel, drizzling it on everything from iceberg lettuce to deep dish pizza with the fervor of a nation possessed. The numbers don't lie. The U.S. gobbles up a staggering 40% of the world's ranch supply, a statistic that would baffle Italians, horrify the French, and probably confuse the dressing's own inventors. What started as a humble blend of buttermilk, herbs, and garlic in a California dude ranch has spiraled into an all-purpose sauce, dip, and condiment hybrid that's as versatile as it is polarizing. Walk into any diner and you'll find it pooling under chicken wings, glopped onto baked potatoes, or even, yes, slathered on slices of pepperoni pizza, a move that purists argue should be punishable by law. The ranch phenomenon isn't just about taste, it's a cultural force. Fast food chains have weaponized it, offering ranch-dusted fries, ranch-stuffed burgers, and even ranch-flavored milkshakes in some experimental pop-ups. Supermarket shelves groan under the weight of ranch variations: spicy ranch, bacon ranch, vegan ranch, and even ranch water, a cocktail trend that somehow convinced people to mix dressing powder with tequila. But the real ranch madness unfolds at the dinner table, where it's not uncommon to see someone dunking everything from carrot sticks to fried chicken into a ramekin of the stuff with the focus of an archaeologist restoring artifacts. What's fascinating is how ranch became the Swiss Army knife of American pantries. Salad, ranch, wings, ranch, tater tots, double ranch. Some Midwesterners take it further, using it as a sandwich spread, a pasta sauce, or a base for casseroles. There's even a subset of devotees who eat it by the spoonful, straight from the bottle, like some kind of dairy-based energy shot. Critics call it a crutch for bland cooking, but fans argue it's the ultimate flavor equalizer, capable of transforming even the saddest desk lunch into something craveable. The dressing's dominance isn't accidental, it's a masterclass in marketing and nostalgia. Hidden Valley's early campaigns pitched ranch as a taste of the West, a wholesome, all-American condiment for families. Over time, it morphed into a symbol of indulgence, synonymous with game day snacks and late-night cravings. Social media amplified the obsession with viral challenges like the ranch roll, where influencers wrap entire restaurant entrees, burgers, burritos, even sushi, in lettuce just to dunk them in ranch. The message is clear. In America, no food is off limits if you've got a bottle of that creamy, herby goodness handy. But here's the twist: ranch's ubiquity has sparked a backlash. High-end chefs dismiss it as the ketchup of millennials, while food snobs shudder at its presence on charcuterie boards. Yet even the haters can't escape it. Ranch has infiltrated hot cuisine, with artisanal versions popping up at farm-to-table spots made with organic buttermilk and heirloom garlic. The irony: those fancy small-batch ranches often taste eerily similar to the mass-produced stuff, proving that sometimes comfort trumps craftsmanship. Love it or loathe it, ranch dressing is more than a condiment, it's a mirror held up to American eating habits. It reflects our love of bold flavors, our obsession with convenience, and our unshakable belief that if something's good, more of it must be better. So next time you see someone baptizing their pizza in a ranch tsunami, remember, you're witnessing a uniquely American sacrament, one creamy, dill-flecked bite at a time. The Big Texan Steak Ranch in Amarillo, Texas doesn't just serve steak, it issues a gauntlet. Their infamous 72-ounce steak challenge dares diners to conquer a 4.5-pound slab of beef, plus a baked potato, shrimp cocktail, salad, and a buttered roll, all in 60 minutes. Finish it and the meal's free. Fail, and you're out $72 and a little bit of your dignity. This isn't just a meal, it's a spectator sport with the restaurant's raised challenge table, putting contestants on full display like gladiators in a grease-stained coliseum. The crowd cheers, cameras flash, and somewhere in the distance, a cardiologist weeps. What makes this challenge so brutal isn't just the sheer volume, it's the ticking clock. Early bites feel triumphant, the steaks juicy and seasoned, the shrimp cocktail refreshing. But around the 20-minute mark, reality sets in. The meat cools, fat congeals, and every chew becomes a slog. Veterans know to start with the steak, saving the lighter sides for later when the protein fatigue hits, but even strategy can't save most challengers. The restaurant estimates only 15% succeed, and the walls are lined with photos of the victorious along with the shell-shocked expressions of those who tapped out midway, staring at their plate like it betrayed them. The drama unfolds in waves. Some contestants attack the steak with knife and fork, sawing through it methodically. Others go primal, picking it up with their hands like some medieval feast. One memorable contender tried blending the steak into a smoothie, a move so audacious the staff vetoed it on the spot. Then there are the stealthy tactics, dousing the meat in A1 to mask the taste or hiding chunks in napkins. Spoiler, they check. But the real heroes are the few who cross the finish line, often with seconds to spare, their faces a mix of triumph and existential regret. One champ described the aftermath as a food coma so deep I time traveled. Behind the spectacle lies a slice of Americana. The challenge started in the 1960s as a marketing stunt, but it's since become a rite of passage. Travelers detour off Route 66 just to test their mettle. Professional eaters treat it like a warm-up, while regular folks leave humbled, their eyes bigger than their stomachs. The restaurant leans into the lore, offering a live webcam of the challenge table and selling T-shirts that read, "I survived." What's fascinating is how this ordeal reflects Texas itself, big, bold, and unapologetically excessive. The steak isn't just food, it's a metaphor for the state's go big or go home ethos. And whether you conquer it or crumple under its weight, one thing's certain, you'll never look at a porterhouse the same way again. Candy corn might be the most controversial candy in America, a tiny tri-colored wedge that sparks either devotion or utter disgust with no middle ground. Every Halloween, social media erupts with heated debates. Is this waxy, sugary confection a nostalgic treasure or an edible crime against humanity? The polarizing treat wasn't always a holiday staple. Originally dreamed up in the 1880s by the Wonderly Candy Company, it was marketed as chicken feed, packed in boxes adorned with roosters and pitched to rural Americans as a playful nod to farm life. Vintage ads from the early 1900s show kids clutching the kernels like actual chicken feed, grinning as if they'd struck gold, the candy's target audience. Literal children pretending to be livestock because nothing says wholesome fun like role-playing as a barnyard animal while eating sugar. The recipe hasn't changed much in over a century, a fact that fuels the divide. Made from little more than sugar, corn syrup, and fondant, candy corn's texture is a lightning rod for criticism. Haters compare it to chewing on candle wax or hardened frosting, while fans adore its melt-in-your-mouth sweetness and nostalgic charm. The flavor's just as contentious, described as honeyed vanilla with a hint of marshmallow. It's either a delicate balance or a bland sugar bomb, depending on who you ask. Even the color scheme, that iconic yellow, orange, and white layering, gets heat. Some find it cheerful, others say it resembles something that should be stapled to a craft project, not eaten. What's wild is how candy corn became Halloween's mascot despite its agricultural roots. By the 1950s, savvy advertisers rebranded it as a seasonal treat, capitalizing on its autumn colors. The timing was perfect. Trick-or-treating exploded in popularity, and candy corn, cheap to produce and easy to mass market, became the ultimate handout. Yet its ubiquity bred contempt. Modern detractors treat it as a cultural punching bag, with online polls routinely ranking it the worst Halloween candy. Comedians joke that it's the candy your grandma hoards until November 1st, while Reddit threads dissect its existential emptiness. But here's the twist: candy corn thrives because of the hate. The annual outrage is part of its charm, fueling think pieces, taste test videos, and even limited edition flavors like candy corn Oreos, a Frankenstein creation that somehow made both treats more divisive. Seasonal spin-offs, pumpkin spice candy corn, caramel apple variants keep the debate fresh. Even the haters play along, buying bags ironically or using them as decorative filler in jars like some edible museum of grudges. Beneath the mockery lies a deeper truth. Candy corn is a Rorschach test for how we experience nostalgia. For some, it's a Proustian Madeleine, evoking childhood Halloweens and simpler times. For others, it's proof that not all traditions age well. But love it or loathe it, candy corn endures as a cultural touchstone, a tiny, tri-colored hill Americans are willing to die on. And really, what's more Halloween than that? A holiday built on frights and fake scars deserves a candy that terrifies half the population. Breakfast cereal and beer might sound like a hazy college dorm experiment, but breweries across America have turned this wild combo into a legit craft trend. Picture a pint that tastes like liquid Fruit Loops or a golden ale infused with the caramel crunch of Cap'n Crunch. This isn't just gimmicky, it's a full-blown movement where brewers steep actual cereal in the mash, letting the grain's sugars ferment while preserving those nostalgic flavors. The result, beers that smell like Saturday morning cartoons but pack enough ABV to make you question whether you're at brunch or happy hour. Take Philadelphia's Bar Hig, whose loopy brew uses real Fruit Loops to create a tart, citrusy ale with a finish that's eerily reminiscent of the milk left in your cereal bowl. Or Texas's Martin House Brewing, which dropped a Cap'n Crunch-inspired milkshake IPA so spot-on, fans swore it was like drinking a childhood memory. What's fascinating isn't just the creativity, it's the science behind it. Cereal's malted grains actually mirror traditional brewing ingredients, but the sugary coatings add a twist. Brewers have to balance the cereal's sweetness with hops to avoid a cloying mess, often tossing in lactose for creaminess or citrus notes to cut through the nostalgia overload. The process walks a tightrope: too much cereal and the beer tastes like soggy leftovers, too little and it's just another bland ale with a clever label. Denver's Odd 13 Brewing nailed it with their codename Superfan, a fruity pebbles-infused sour that's tangy, fruity, and somehow exactly like the cereal without feeling like a prank. Critics dismiss these as stunt brews, but fans argue they're a natural extension of craft beer's playful side. After all, if pumpkin spice and peanut butter porters get a pass, why not Captain Crunch? The trend taps into something deeper, a Gen X and millennial longing for comfort in a can. It's not about getting drunk, insists a Chicago brewer. It's about that first sip triggering a Proustian rush of Saturday mornings in footy pajamas. Bars lean into the whimsy, serving cereal beers alongside actual bowls of the stuff, turning tastings into interactive nostalgia trips, yet the backlash is real. Purists grumble that cereal beers cheapen craft brewing's artistry, while nutritionists cringe at the sugar content. One Ohio beer hit 20 grams per can. Even casual drinkers are split. Some revel in the weirdness, while others recoil at flavors better suited to a toddler's spoon. But here's the kicker: these beers sell out fast. Limited runs spark frenzied lines, with traders swapping cans online like rare Pokémon cards. A brewery in Portland even debuted a breakfast flight, a 4 cereal-inspired beers paired with mini boxes of the matching cereal, and it became their top-selling sampler overnight. The cereal beer phenomenon isn't just about blurring meal boundaries, it's a testament to brewing's boundless innovation. Whether it's a fleeting fad or the next pumpkin ale remains to be seen, but one thing's clear: in a world where beer can taste like Belgian chocolate or habanero peppers, why not Fruit Loops? Just maybe don't pour it over your Wheaties. Deep-fried beer sounds like the punchline to a joke, until you see the golden, golf ball-sized orbs sizzling in a fryer at the Texas State Fair. This isn't some prank, it's a feat of culinary alchemy that defies physics. How do you fry a liquid? The answer lies in a delicate dance of temperature and timing. Vendors start by filling small ravioli-like pockets of dough with a shot of your favorite lager, sealing them tight to prevent leakage. The dough has to be sturdy enough to withstand the oil's heat, but thin enough to cook quickly, creating a crispy shell while the beer inside warms just enough to turn fizzy and aromatic. Bite into one and the shell shatters, releasing a burst of warm, malty foam that tastes like the essence of a pub crawl condensed into a single, messy bite. The genius behind this madness is Abel Gonzalez Jr., the same wizard who brought us deep-fried Coke. He spent months perfecting the technique, testing dough recipes that could trap liquid without exploding like miniature grenades in hot oil. The trick: freezing the beer first. By starting with semi-solid beer cubes, the dough has a fighting chance to crisp up before the liquid fully melts. The result is a textural paradox: crunchy outside, molten inside. That's as much science experiment as snack. Gonzalez even tweaked the beer variety to avoid bitterness, settling on a light lager that amplifies the fried dough's sweetness. State fair crowds don't just eat these, they perform for the cameras. First-timers often tilt their heads back like they're taking a shot, only to get ambushed by the carbonation's warm tickle. Others nibble cautiously, savoring the way the beer's hoppy notes mingle with the dough's buttery richness. The dish's popularity hinges on its sheer audacity. It's like drinking and eating at the same time, but with way more drama, laughs one Dallas food blogger. Vendors lean into the spectacle, serving the orbs in miniature fry baskets with sidecar condiments: spicy mustard for daring palates, powdered sugar for those leaning into dessert territory. What's wild is how this novelty taps into a deeper tradition of American fare food as edible theater. From fried butter to Kool-Aid pickles, the goal isn't just taste, it's spectacle, a chance to marvel at the lengths cooks will go to defy expectations. Deep-fried beer isn't meant to replace your pint glass. It's a conversation starter, a dare, a reminder that food can be fun first and fuel second. And honestly, after that first explosive bite, you'll either be converted or sprinting for a napkin, but you won't forget it. Critics call it a gimmick, and they're not wrong. The beer's flavor muddies under the fry, and the texture walks a fine line between clever and cloying. Yet there's something poetic about a dish that embodies the state fair's spirit, temporary, ridiculous, and utterly unforgettable. Whether it's engineering triumph or grease fire waiting to happen depends on your tolerance for chaos. But one thing's certain, in a world where innovation often means smaller portions and cleaner flavors, deep-fried beer is a loud, unapologetic middle finger to subtlety. And maybe that's exactly what makes it brilliant. New York City doesn't mess around when it comes to bagels, so much so they passed an actual law to protect the sanctity of their toppings. In 2021, the city quietly made headlines with a rule so hyper-specific, it could only come from a place that treats bagels like religion. The sprinkling of everything seasoning on a bagel was officially declared a union job. That's right, if you're slathering cream cheese on a freshly baked everything bagel in NYC, the person who applied that iconic blend of garlic, onion, poppy seeds, and sesame didn't just do it for fun, they had credentials. The law was part of a broader labor agreement covering bakery workers, but the fact that it singled out bagel toppings speaks volumes about how seriously this city takes its carbs. This wasn't just bureaucratic nitpicking, it was a defense of tradition. Real New Yorkers know an everything bagel isn't just a random scatter of seeds. It's a precise ratio, a symphony of flavors balanced so no single ingredient overpowers the others. Too much garlic, the bagel tastes like a pizza crust. Too few poppy seeds, it's basically a sad sesame. Union workers trained to nail this balance, applying the mix with a consistency that home cooks and amateur bakers struggle to replicate. Walk into any legendary NYC spot like Russ and Daughters or S.A. Bagel, and you'll taste the difference. Each bite delivers that perfect savory crunch, a testament to decades of institutional knowledge. The law also exposed a cultural rift. Outside New York, grocery stores sell everything bagels pre-topped in factories, their seasoning glued on with a bland, uniform coating. But in the city, the toppings are applied after baking, allowing the flavors to toast slightly without burning, a tiny detail that makes all the difference. When the rule hit the news, out-of-towners scoffed, "You need a license to sprinkle seeds," while locals nodded sagely. "Try eating a everything bagel in Ohio," joked one Brooklyn deli owner. Tastes like disappointment and broken dreams. What's fascinating is how this law reflects NYC's broader bagel ethos. The city's water, its boiling and baking process, even the way the dough is hand-rolled, every step is guarded like state secrets. The union rule just added another layer of protectionism, ensuring that even the garnish stays authentic. Critics call it overkill, but bagel historians point to the 90s when corporate chains tried to mass-produce New York-style bagels with lackluster results. The toppings clumped, the flavors dulled, and the city's bakeries watched in horror as their craft got watered down. This law was a quiet rebellion against that erosion, a way to preserve the soul of a food that's as much a cultural icon as the Statue of Liberty. So next time you bite into an everything bagel and those flavors hit just right, remember, it's not just snack time. It's the result of a century of craftsmanship, a union contract, and a city that refuses to let its culinary legacy get baked into mediocrity. And if that means someone had to train for years to perfectly scatter sesame seeds, well, that's the price of greatness. Pumpkin spice isn't just a flavor, It's a full-blown cultural phenomenon that escapes the coffee cup and invades everything each fall. What started as a humble Starbucks latte in 2003 has metastasized into a seasonal plague of scented capitalism, infusing products so far removed from food, you'd think autumn itself was a corporate branding exercise. Dog treats, check. Scented candles that smell like a cinnamon bomb detonated in a squash patch, absolutely. But the real absurdity kicks in when you spot pumpkin spice vodka on the liquor shelf, or yes, pumpkin spice spam, because apparently no food category is safe from the squash spice industrial complex. The psychology behind this overreach is fascinating. Market research shows that limited edition seasonal flavors trigger FOMO, fear of missing out, more effectively than any other gimmick. Companies know that slapping pumpkin spice on a label between September and November guarantees a sales bump, even if the product has no business tasting like nutmeg. Take pumpkin spice Cheerios, for instance. The cereal already tastes like mild oats and honey, but add a sprinkle of clove and suddenly it's a fall experience. Or consider the pinnacle of excess, pumpkin spice Pringles. The internet collectively gagged when these hit shelves, with one reviewer describing them as like someone dropped a Yankee candle into a potato chip factory. But the real masterstroke, non-edibles, pumpkin spice deodorant implies you can sweat seasonal cheer. Pumpkin spice shampoo turns your shower into a basic white girl's Instagram feed. There's even pumpkin spice cat litter, because nothing says cozy autumn like scooping a spice-scented turd. The trend's so pervasive, it's spawned think pieces questioning whether we've reached peak pumpkin, and yet every year the list grows. A Minnesota brewery once debuted a pumpkin spice ale aged in actual pumpkin shells, while a Texas dentist offered pumpkin spice fluoride treatments. Yes, you could theoretically buzz your teeth with autumnal flair before sipping a PSL-flavored protein shake at the gym. Critics roll their eyes at the rampant commodification, calling it a tired marketing crutch. It's the olfactory equivalent of a participation trophy, grumbles one food anthropologist, pointing out that actual pumpkin is rarely the star, just the spice blend. Yet defenders argue it's harmless fun, a sensory shorthand for warmth and nostalgia. The irony, many of these products don't even contain pumpkin. The flavor blueprint, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, clove, is cheap to replicate, making it the ultimate profit hack. What's wild isn't the trend itself, but how willingly we play along. We mock the absurdity while secretly buying pumpkin spice-scented nail polish because deep down, maybe we do want our fingertips to smell like a bakery window. The backlash only fuels the fire, ensuring next year's lineup will be even more outrageous. So brace yourselves, pumpkin spice motor oil can't be far off. After all, if your car's gonna leak fluids, they might as well smell like Thanksgiving. The McRib isn't just a sandwich, it's a masterclass in psychological manipulation. A boneless pork patty dressed in barbecue sauce that disappears for years at a time, only to return like some kind of fast food messiah. McDonald's didn't just stumble into this strategy, they engineered it with the precision of a Vegas magician. The key to the McRib's elusive charm, a calculated dance between pork prices and manufactured scarcity. When pork costs plummet, the McRib materializes on menus like clockwork. When prices rebound, it vanishes without a trace. This isn't coincidence, it's a carefully orchestrated supply chain tango designed to keep fans desperate and wallets open. Dig into the economics and the logic gets even sneakier. Pork prices swing wildly based on feed costs, global demand, and even weather events. McDonald's structured the McRib as a flexible menu item precisely to exploit these fluctuations. When pork is cheap, the sandwich becomes a profit machine, its boneless patty a blend of trimmings and binders costing pennies on the dollar. But when pork gets expensive, the McRib takes a hiatus, as McDonald's spins it, a temporary farewell that fuels myth-making and social media frenzy. By the time it returns, customers don't just buy it, they celebrate it, lining up like it's the second coming of the Happy Meal. The real genius, though, is the artificial demand. Limited time offers aren't new, but the McRib perfected the art of FOMO before the term even existed. McDonald's doesn't just re-release it, they stage a full-blown spectacle teasing comebacks with cryptic tweets, launching farewell tours, even letting fans track its return via a now-defunct McRib Locator website. The sandwich's irregular appearances train customers to treat it like a rare collectible, not fast food. And it works. Sales spike every time it resurfaces, with some locations reporting lines out the door. One Chicago franchise owner admitted regulars stockpile McRibs in their freezers, treating them like apocalyptic rations. But here's the twist: the McRib was never meant to be permanent. Originally introduced in 1981, it flopped as a standard menu item. Customers saw it as just another sandwich until McDonald's rebranded it as an event. Now its scarcity is the selling point. The company even admits this in internal documents, calling the McRib a marketing lever to drive traffic during slow quarters. Pork prices might dictate its feasibility, but the hype machine ensures its legend. Critics call this manipulative, and they're not wrong, yet fans couldn't care less. For them, the McRib's mystery is part of the fun, a shared cultural joke that turns a mediocre sandwich into a collective obsession. The lesson: in fast food, as in life, absence really does make the heart grow fonder. Just don't ask what's actually in that patty. Some sandwiches are meant to be shared, and then there's the 12-foot sub, a monstrosity of cold cuts, cheese, and bread so massive, it takes a small army to carry it. This isn't just a meal, it's a publicity stunt on a hoagie roll, a spectacle dreamed up by sub-chains to stop pedestrians in their tracks. Imagine a sandwich longer than a compact car, piled high with enough meat to feed a little league team, requiring multiple employees to heft it onto a table like they're transporting a fallen tree. The moment it's unveiled, cameras flash, crowds gawk, and someone inevitably asks the obvious: who the heck is this for? Subway, Blimpie, and other chains have all dabbled in these behemoth builds, usually for grand openings or charity events. The logistics alone are absurd. Bakers craft custom bread loaves in sections, then stitch them together with layers of turkey, ham, and roast beef that could blanket a twin-sized mattress. Condiments are applied with paint rollers or industrial squeeze bottles, and veggies are dumped by the crate. Lettuce rains down like confetti at a parade. The assembly becomes a team sport, with employees lining up assembly line style to ensure every inch gets its fair share of toppings. But the real comedy unfolds during delivery. Watching 4 people attempt to carry a 12-foot sandwich without it snapping like a dry twig is pure slapstick. They shuffle in unison, arms trembling, as onlookers cheer or gasp like they're watching a tightrope walker. One wrong move, and suddenly you've got a carnage of salami on the sidewalk. Some shops resort to flatbed carts or even forklifts to transport their creations, treating them like fragile artifacts rather than lunch. The aftermath is even more surreal. Once the photos are snapped, the sandwich usually meets one of 2 fates: a ceremonial slicing where it's doled out to hundreds of bystanders, or more tragically, a quiet dismantling, its components repurposed into normal-sized subs. Rarely does anyone actually attempt to eat it whole, though competitive eaters have been known to take the challenge, attacking it like a lumberjack sawing through a log. What's wild is how these sandwiches reveal the psychology of food marketing. No one needs a 12-foot sub, but its sheer absurdity commands attention. It's edible clickbait, a physical manifestation of go big or go home. And for a brief, glorious moment, it turns a mundane deli into a theater of excess, proving that sometimes the best way to sell a sandwich isn't through taste or value, but by making it so ridiculously large people can't look away. Just don't ask where you'd store the leftovers. The phrase, all you can eat, takes on a grimly literal meaning at Las Vegas' infamous Heart Attack Grill, where the only thing more unlimited than the food is the sheer audacity of its marketing. This hospital-themed restaurant, where waitresses dress as nurses and customers wear patient gowns, once offered a lifetime supply of free meals to anyone weighing over 350 pounds. But the dark joke turned tragic when a regular customer, a 600-pound man in his 40s, suffered a fatal heart attack while devouring a triple bypass burger at the counter. The irony was lost on no one. A man literally ate himself to death at a place that proudly warns caution. This establishment is bad for your health on every menu. The grill's owner, a self-styled anti-nutritionist named John Basso, leaned into the macabre spectacle, framing the incident as proof of his restaurant's commitment to excess. "We don't force-feed anyone," he told reporters while simultaneously offering funeral discounts to patrons who died after consuming his 20,000-calorie meals. The menu reads like a dare: butterfat milkshakes, flatliner fries cooked in pure lard, and the infamous quadruple bypass burger, 4 half-pound patties stacked with 40 slices of bacon, all cradled in a bun glazed with melted butter. Customers who finish it get wheelchaired to their cars by staff, a theatrical touch that blurs the line between gimmick and grim reality. What's unsettling isn't just the menu's lethality, it's how the restaurant weaponizes American gluttony as performance art. The grill's walls are plastered with photos of customers attempting food challenges, their faces slick with grease and triumph. One patron famously consumed a record-breaking 36,000 calories in a single sitting, a feat that earned him a spot on the Wall of Fame, alongside the restaurant's unofficial Wall of Death, where deceased regulars are memorialized with their favorite orders. Nutritionists have called the place a metabolic crime scene, but Basso dismisses critics, insisting his restaurant simply holds up a mirror to a culture that glorifies overconsumption. The tragedy underscores a broader irony. Vegas buffets and food challenges thrive on the illusion of consequence-free indulgence. Casinos famously offered eternal shrimp cocktails to lure gamblers, while all-you-can-eat ribs joints promise no limits, as if human physiology were just a suggestion. Yet the Heart Attack Grill forces an uncomfortable confrontation with those fantasies. When that customer collapsed mid-bite, the restaurant didn't close, it became a macabre tourist attraction. Visitors now pose for photos next to the booth where he died, some even ordering his last meal as a perverse tribute. This isn't just dark humor, it's a cultural reckoning. The grill's grotesque theater holds up a funhouse mirror to America's love affair with excess, where freedom of choice often means freedom to self-destruct with a side of fries. Whether it's satire or sickness depends on your appetite for irony. But one thing's certain, in a city built on risk, the ultimate gamble isn't at the blackjack table, it's on the plate. From deep-fried butter that oozes like molten gold to beer trapped inside crispy dough bombs, America's food scene doesn't just push boundaries, it sets them on fire and fries them for good measure. We've slathered peanut butter on burgers, turned ketchup into medicine, and celebrated roadkill like it's a 5-star delicacy. Who else would stuff 3 entire birds into each other and call it dinner, or decide that cereal belongs not just in milk but in beer? And let's not forget the spaghetti donut, a carb-on-carb crime that defies all laws of culinary decency. But here's the real question: which of these insane food feats left you staring at your screen in disbelief? Was it the Primanti Bros sandwich that crams fries and coleslaw between bread, or the garbage plate that laughs in the face of portion control? Maybe it's the McRib's mind games, playing hard to get with our taste buds like a fast food Casanova. Whatever your pick, drop it in the comments, and if you've encountered a weirder edible abomination, we need to know. After all, this is America, where food logic doesn't just take a backseat, it gets tossed out the window and deep-fried on the way down. Don't forget to subscribe for more culinary chaos. Until next time, keep your forks ready and your stomachs brave.